She's so sweet.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Monday, October 7th, 2024 Board of Trustees meeting for the Village of Lansing. I will call the meeting to order at 7:32, and I will take roll. Susan Ainsley.
Present.
Wolfgang Wollmer.
Present.
Carolyn Greenwald. Seems to be absent. Kathleen Yen.
Present.
Present, and Monty Hardaway is here. So we'll just mark Carolyn down as absent temporarily. And I will open tonight's public comment period. There is no one in the room with us tonight, and I'm not seeing anyone on our Zoom call. So we have a couple of minutes before we still got minutes to approve. We'll take the time for that. So just want to be sure we can't start our public hearing early. So I will move that we close the public comment period.
Somebody else has to do that because I have to be the recorder.
Yeah. Susan's our recorder. Kathleen seconds. All those in favor say aye. 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 And the next agenda item is approval of minutes from September 12th, 2024. Did everyone get a chance to look at those and submit changes? And all the changes I received, I made into the version that was provided for tonight's meeting. So I will move those minutes. I'll move to approve those minutes as the final minutes. A second? Someone needs a second.
I need to abstain because
You weren't there?
I was temporarily cut out and.
I'm second.
Okay. Susan seconds. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes of September 12th, 2024 as final, say aye. Aye. And you will abstain, and Wolfgang abstains. Thank you. Our next order of business is right on time. To continue our public hearing for proposed local law A 2024, amendment of the Village of Lansing Code zoning law to add a section on solar energy systems. And there's no need to move that. There's no one in the chambers or online to discuss it. Thank you, Natalie, for working with the planning board to provide this paragraph. I will read that into the record. This will go into section 2D, general requirements, and I take it that it will probably become the general requirement number 14, being after 13.
I think it was, I think I put it, no, I put it into a different spot, but this would also not be a friendly amendment. If you wanted to adopt it, we would have to do a new public hearing, so it's more than just a typo change.
Okay.
I put it as number 13, pushing the last requirement to maintain that as the last requirement
Okay.
as 14, just because that made more sense flow-wise to me.
Okay, all right. I didn't catch that in your notes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So 13 is just the special.
13 is the new one, and then 14 is special permit applicants are subject to. I don't know if it.
Okay. I will read that into the record. The owner operator of a solar energy system shall be responsible for the removal of incomplete, unused, or inactive solar energy systems, the elimination of all safety hazards, the remediation of the site, and all costs associated therewith pursuant to subsections G and H below and the provisions of this code. So it is, since it is not a friendly amendment, but we need to hold this public hearing open for another meeting.
Well, if you wanted to adopt the revised version, we would need to republish for a new public hearing with the new local law, including that new number 13. So we couldn't even open a new public hearing, we would close this public hearing,
Close it.
take no action, and then redo a public hearing with the new version. the planning board wanted to include this to call out the requirement of decommissioning to people, and I believe they're also revising the permit to include similar language
Okay.
to make it evident to people that decommissioning is an important aspect to this process.
Okay.
So the,
I hesitate to, this process has taken so long. I'm afraid another step will delay it another month and another month. However, it is a substantial change, and there was nothing like it in the original. So I suppose that's what we will need to do. Go ahead, Kathleen.
well, I just had a question, since G and H provide for the remedies, whether or not there's a decommissioning plan. In this as in the general, is that a substantive change?
It's additional language, so a friendly amendment is only for a typographical error. Anything beyond that, even if the mechanism was already provided in the law, would have to be a substantial change, even though we're not technically adding
I see.
requirements.
But in terms of interpreting for the code officer,
Correct, it doesn't add any additional requirements.
doesn't change, it doesn't substantively change anything that's not already provided in G and H.
Correct.
Which would be abandonment, et cetera, plus the remedies. And correct me, no, please correct me, but currently, there is really no guidance for any energy system.
Correct, at this
Now
point, if an
in the
applicant came in, Mike, they would just go to you for a building permit?
When you come in for a building permit for anything like that, it gets categorized under accessory building at this point, which is.
So basically, anything could go in at this point. So given that, I like the fact that this is emphasized again. It will be in the permit, and they will have to sign that permit application. So their responsibility is acknowledged at that point. Given that, I would say, even though it's not perfect, I would go ahead and recommend adopting as is. And then, because it doesn't substantively change the interpretation of the code. And then we can look at then setting another meeting at a later time, incorporating this and any other, anything else that the board, the code officer, planning board brings forward.
So let me summarize. You want to approve the current solar law without this new section, and then come back later with this as a revision to the law?
Could come back later with this added, but it's already going to be in the permit. It doesn't substantively change the code
Right.
because it's already included in G and H.
So you would rather have something on the books?
I'd rather have something on
As
the
soon as
books
possible rather than
as possible rather than later, because we do have to look at energy storage, other energy systems that we may want to look at to provide guardrails and guidance, would be my thought.
Well, let me ask Mike a question. Is that a feasible model for us to pass the law, and from an enforcement standpoint, where the permit does not exactly reflect, it reflects a little more information and has this in it, or do we need to also accept the current version of the permit, and when we update the law, then update the permit.
I don't think what Kathleen has to say is crazy or anything like that, because you're going to have, if you do adopt this law, I now have something it's a little more sophisticated than how I have been categorizing things. Because we don't have a whole lot of arrays, I don't get a lot of permits for that. The likelihood of one coming through before we get the decommissioning changed over is probably low. And besides that, we have a few other changes, such as a tree law possibly coming up, that you could do those together. So it doesn't matter to me either way. I mean, I've been working with how it's been going, being categorized as a accessory building, unless it's over 400 square feet, then it's a principal building. So it doesn't matter to me either way. I can work however you want to do it.
You see a problem with this model?
My only question, and I haven't seen it, is has the planning board provided the updated permit version yet?
I haven't.
Because if we then enact a law with no permit application to use, I don't know how feasible that is.
I haven't seen anything from Mike that was.
I thought Pat was making some
Pat was
tweaks and
sending it to
changes,
Mike
and I
was gonna
haven't
send
seen
it
it.
around, and I haven't seen it.
I understand what you're saying, wanting to get something on the books, but if we don't then have the counterpiece of having the application
permit.
ready to use,
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know how we could enforce it.
Right.
So you could, in lieu of delaying for a whole nother month for a public hearing, I mean, hold open and vote next meeting, it's 2 weeks, I would have to wait, and not use the new language, and,
Not use an updated permit with that language in it.
correct.
Okay. My concern is we would be setting back, what would that do to the permit creation process?
The application has been created. I think that Pat had to remove some language based on on the amendment that was going to be, or the version that was going to be enacted, and he was just going to add this piece. So I think removing it would be not a difficulty for him.
Okay.
I also don't think it'd be problematic to include language similar to this in a permit, even though it's not specifically in the statute, because as Kathleen said, these requirements themselves are already in the statute. This is just a condensed version of referring somebody to those sections, which they're already required to do.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have a problem if the statute didn't have this number 13, but the application did refer to a summary such as this.
Okay. So, since you've seen it, I don't believe I've seen it, it does not refer to a specific paragraph number, or section and paragraph number, correct?
The
This part
permit,
on the permit or the application?
I haven't seen the proposed language on the permit.
Okay.
The main reasoning behind wanting this on the application was we wanted to have the applicant to be able to sign something that had that on there, so that was
They couldn't, yeah.
legally you could.
That they were aware of it and
Yes.
they had acknowledged the requirement.
Okay. I wish we had a copy of that application, just to verify where they are, but we do not. Okay. Well, I will leave it. Susan or Wolfgang, do you have opinions on this?
It's right now on the table. They seem, I don't know why, but for them, it seems to be really important to have it. The whole process was far too long. Whether we wait a month or not, doesn't matter. And you know my opinion about it, it's not a law anyway. It's even not a recommendation probably, it's even not a guideline. It's a recommendation. So whether we wait a month or not, doesn't make a difference in my opinion. So just to keep the peace, I would say, wait a month.
Okay.
I need to keep things clean and simple always, rather than, it feels like jury rigging, or it just feels, we need to have everything in place and in order, so it's very clear, because apparently it's not clear.
Okay.
And to be defensible, and to make Mike's job a little easier, so he doesn't have to kind of conjure up an explanation. He's too busy for that.
And Mike, you don't expect any applicants between now and, say, a month from now? You've no indication you've got potential application, so.
No, we just had a couple go through. Who knows when someone's gonna drop me an application? But
Yeah,
even
you
if
never
someone
know.
does, if it's a large array or something like that, it's gonna take me a couple, 3 weeks to go through the plan review anyway.
Okay,
Yeah, so we have time already built into getting the permitting, but I sincerely hope that by the January 1, this is done, the tree law is done, and we're done. Because everyone has worked so long and hard,
I agree.
but I don't want to cut corners at this point.
Okay. All right. Okay, so what we would do in that case is that we would close the public hearing on the law without adopting this new paragraph. And then we would move to start another public hearing, which we would have to go through the process of publishing it and setting up a meeting, our first public hearing. So it would usually takes about 10 days. So it's possible we could be ready, it would
At the
require.
next one,
Yeah, at our next Monday night meeting.
yeah.
What about 239?
No.
It wouldn't affect it.
You're not changing the law, and it says 239s would be only for actually creation of a law, a major change in a law, and they leave major change in there, so it's really up to me whether it's major change. I don't consider this a major change.
Okay, all right. So we would need to move, okay, the process will be, we need to move to close the public hearing tonight. We will not pass the law, we will not put the law into effect, the current law without this paragraph. We will open up a public hearing and have it for 7:35 on the 21st, I guess. Yeah, that would be right, the 21st of October at 7:35 PM. With Jody gone, she's back on the 14th.
I mean, I can send legal ed out this week.
Can you do that? You know how the process of getting it in correctly? Okay, well, I can help with it if you need me to. Okay,
And then we'll
is
get,
that acceptable, Kathleen?
Sure.
Okay. I tend to agree with all of you, unfortunately. There has already, I thought there's one application from Ken Horowitz. He wanted to get in under the wire before the law went into effect. I'm concerned that there might be others, but if you've got no indication that might happen, then.
No crystal ball.
Okay.
So is it from the point when the application is submitted, or is it the point when the permit is approved?
As far as,
The law kicking,
Enforcement of the law.
because there's, even if it's passed, it's 10 days after that, correct? Before it goes into effect.
I'd say when the permit is submitted, because then they're relying on the law at the time.
I mean,
of
we've been,
submission.
have we been waiting, for example, and of course, we didn't have that problem with the tree law. We didn't have something come right away with that. So that's legally, what is it? As soon as it's adopted or as soon as it's sent in?
10 days
10
after
days
publication.
Because I think it
But I
goes,
think our biggest concern has already made their application.
so the application itself would need to be finalized. Does the planning board?
We have a meeting next week, so we'll
So they're
reach out to
aware of
Pat to
that.
let him know to circulate
We need
his
the
version.
final version.
He may have been waiting to see if this was approved or not. I'm not sure. I thought there was discussion that he would have a revision circulated prior to this meeting. I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
I didn't realize the law was contingent on the application.
It's not, but if we then pass the law without an application to use, what, if someone then comes in and Mike's like, well, we haven't approved the application yet, so,
It's sloppy.
yeah,
I thought it was done.
almost.
Keyword.
The application would need to be approved potentially at the same meeting.
Yeah, it can just be a resolution to approve, because it is a modified version of the uniform application. They simplified it
Okay.
quite a bit,
All right,
so, to make it a little bit more user-friendly.
okay.
Now, does the appendix also have to be approved as well?
That can be approved by resolution, it doesn't have to be a local law to
doesn't have
amend,
to be.
but if it's ready, let's all do it.
Just the application, okay, thank you.
So you need a motion to.
Yes, I will move that we close the public hearing on proposed local law A 2024. I need a second.
Second.
Wolfgang seconds. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's closed.
No,
Now we need to set a public hearing for Monday, October 21st, 2024, at 7:35 PM. I will move that at,
Second,
thank you, Kathleen. And during that meeting, we will need to publish the version, the current version with this new paragraph, number 13, under section 2D, general requirements, and make that available for viewing. And Mike, you said you could do that.
I'll take care of that.
Thank you. And so it's moved and seconded. All those in favor of setting that public hearing on October 21st, say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay. Sorry, Susan, that kind of messes up the template, doesn't it?
Well, I
Somewhat.
think between the three of us, and Jody can listen, and say, it takes three people to do my job.
the recording will be there.
Okay, thank you all. It's a good discussion.
I'm not worried.
So we will save the resolution that Natalie drafted for us for that time, and the change of a
modify it
date.
again.
We'll change some dates in there for the new date. And who was going to contact Pat or the planning board to check on the application? Can you do that, Mike?
Yep, I got it.
All right, thank you. And if they need some input from us, they're welcome to forward it to us too before they sign. I'll be
Yeah,
glad
I just want to be, I want to be able to have the finalized version of it so I can post it. So I'll have that.
Post it with the legal ad, or just post it for,
Well, I'll end up posting it out here,
I got you.
and
Okay. For people who might want to apply, even with the law not on the books.
well, the way Jody usually does it is she'll post it out here, the actual law itself.
Okay,
Send in a legal ad describing it, not posting a legal ad.
okay.
Or not posting the law because that's.
Oh, yeah,
how it
that's
works.
long, okay, so it's just,
But
it's
we post
available
it,
here.
It's available here.
Gotcha,
to see.
okay.
That's how she does it.
That makes sense, okay. But what about the application? Are you going to have that available
I
for viewing?
don't know, do we don't have to have the application?
I don't think
No, we
we
don't have
do.
to have that
That's
available, and I think
internal.
the planning board will discuss it on Monday and finalize their.
Okay, all right. All right, I just wanted to be sure.
And will we get a copy of it too?
Yep.
And will the F change to G? That'll be
in there.
That'll be in there.
Okay. All right. Okay, the next topic for tonight is to discuss the 30-day liquor license waiver for Ole Ole Restaurant. Mike, we've had these before. Can you kind of explain what we're doing with this?
Yeah, this is, you have to wait 30 days, and a lot of, for the local municipalities to allow this to be either posted or discussed before the state can make a move on it. Peter Hahn, it's the old edible arrangements that's in the Applebee's area. He's doing Ole Ole, which is a Korean-infused Mexican restaurant. And what he wants to do is he wants to be able to serve alcohol. He has a small seating area. similar if you've ever been to, because I was over there, it's not bad, similar to if you've ever been to like Wings Over Ithaca or something like that. You can go in if you're waiting for something, you can have a beer, beverage, or whatever. He did wait a while to get this to me, which you'll see that the notice date is 9/9. We're coming up on 30 days anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if we can just vote or do a resolution, then I can just give it to him.
Cut a couple of days off the 30-day wait.
Yeah, it might help him some, so.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, so, okay. Well, I will move the resolution to waive the 30-day municipality notification for Ole Ole Restaurant located at 2300 North Trip Hammer Road. I would need a second.
Second.
I think she'd just be Kathleen again, seconded. Any discussion, concerns? All those in favor of passing this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's approved.
That'll be fine, thank you. I'll let him know tomorrow.
Okay.
Save him a day.
It's not like we're ignoring it, it's just our first meeting. Okay, the next topic is to discuss clean energy-related projects for NYSERDA grants. I know we talked this a little bit about this at last month's staff trustees meeting. I was communicating with John. One of the recommended things was to get an energy savings audit on the garage, the DPW garage, but John said that the garage is not that old, and when they built it, they pretty much built it with high energy products, and they put in an energy efficient boiler to keep the heat. So he doesn't think there would be a lot to find, and we would be spending money for very little payback or production from that. So he said that if we really wanted to spend the money, that we could purchase an electric mower. So do you want to have him research electric mowers for the village?
So he has a mower right now that is near the end of its life that needs to be replaced.
I doubt, I think we replaced his current mower last year or the year before. It's not very old, it's probably got 2 or 3 years left on it.
So he'd surplus that and.
Or have it as backup, yeah.
Or backup,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it could be surplus if he felt that the electric met the needs.
So, and was there a need for any other equipment or?
Well, that's what the research he would have to find out. I did a quick research myself. There were 3 companies that I found. There were two of the mowers have embedded batteries where you just charge. It's like a hybrid vehicle. You charge the battery and then use it. Another one has the swappable batteries where you're charging a 4-pack of batteries and you swap them out when you need more. So 4 are charging while you're working. The commercial mowers that I saw, the charges were made to last 8 to 12 hours. So they would probably cover a day's work that's on the manufacturer's spec sheet, obviously. So there's that, or we can think of other projects. It's just if we want John to start pursuing the research, I could tell him tomorrow to start looking at it and see what he finds. He may not find anything that he thinks would work, so.
Yep.
And that's the only suggestion.
Well, there are other projects, but I'm just, yeah, there are other possibilities within the list that I presented last month if we want to do a hodgepodge of projects, but we have to get moving on them. They have to be basically encumbered, that's not quite the right word, in the process of appropriating monies for the funds. We could be planning with an appropriation that would be done to be far enough down the road in planning to know that the appropriation would come, and then NYSERDA would either approve or disapprove by December 9th. So we can do other projects.
About, so we're just eligible for the money, so it should be something that's actually, something that's needed, that's already prioritized as a need, so.
Well, yeah, we can come up with any project that we think would be appropriate, but then you've got the process of the approval from NYSERDA. If it's something that they've kind of done in the past or close to what they've already done, the approval is more likely. If it's something else, they might delay and.
Backup energy system for the village office and DPW in the event of power outages.
Like a diesel generator, they would not, has to be clean energy. It would have to be an electrical system, battery, like a portable battery energy storage system.
I was watching, and I'm not, it's a jack, it's something that supports off the grid. It's red, and I was looking at, a building video or something. Is it a jack something? I should have made a note, but it's a storage.
Like a battery storage?
Yeah, like a battery storage, like a bank of batteries.
I've seen one or two of those. I don't know about their price, but, and I don't know if could it be used here? I don't know.
I'm totally a novice at all of this.
Yeah,
But it's like, for me, the way I think about it, it's a generator. But
Without the gasoline or diesel power.
But it's a collection unit. And it's a jack something.
Most likely battery storage.
Yeah, some sort of battery storage. Do they sell it?
It's not a generator, you have to keep
No,
it.
no,
You have
it's
to
a
keep it
storage.
We
charged.
have 2 grants that we've been awarded. Each one is worth $10,000. We've also received a $5,000 grant that is not tied to, it's just basically you can use it however you want. We can combine all of that money, which is a total of $25,000.
How about the,
Jackery.
a what?
Jackery?
Yes, Natalie, you're wonderful.
Google, not me.
I knew, yes, those. Well, I was intrigued with those. I thought they were, having lived through ice storms and that sort of thing.
I can propose that to Chris to see if, is this something that we could use?
Yeah, I mean, it's just there to store in the case
Now,
we might need it. I don't
the
know.
thing I want to impress on you is that we do not have to spend this money. We can let this money go. We don't want to buy something that's useless just to say we've spent money.
No.
I don't want to do that, but if we can come up with something that we really could use that would benefit us, then let's go for it.
No, I absolutely agree.
So we will need to do some research, but that's a decent proposal, Susan. I don't remember seeing anything like that in the list from NYSERDA, but we could be first.
This is a Canadian,
Oh, it's Canadian electricity.
I don't know, but
Does the village hall have a generator backup system?
We have generators that the DPW have as part of the garage that they use at times, and we can use those if we need to. So this would be a potential addition to that. And we could get, as long as it's clean energy, if it's a battery energy storage system, we can probably do it. I haven't seen it on the list, but I can have Chris look at it. And we can talk about this at next Thursday's meeting. So that's fine. Do you want me to have John check on EV mowers in the meantime, and see what he thinks?
just to see what I
Think
think.
it'd be powerful enough to,
Well, it's not a question of power, but it's a question of discharge. And the more resistance you have in your grass, and our grass is terrible.
Okay.
So the more resistance you have, the more you block an electric motor. A blocked electric motor draws the most current, just physics. So that means if I, for example, I have an electric motor. So if I come back in May from my 2 weeks vacation and go out there, my grass is a little high. I need about, well, I was forced to buy new batteries because my 3 batteries didn't do it.
Oh, my gosh.
So I can't charge my batteries fast enough because they get hot.
Oh, God.
You have to cool them down first before you can charge them.
Goodness.
So I have now 5 batteries. My normal mowing, and it's about a little more than half an acre. My normal mowing costs me about 3 charges, so I can survive with my 3, and they're not getting as hot.
Yeah,
So now, depending on what they mow and how many branches and things of that they hit, the batteries get hot and you get a really rapid discharge. So, and that's the beauty of all EV systems.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which one, it's just physics. And I don't think that there is anything out there right now which makes sense commercially.
yeah.
For me, I can have a beer and wait for my batteries to charge.
Yeah.
But
Our guys can't do that.
they can't do that, And so it's, the power is not an issue.
It's, that makes sense.
High voltage system, power is not an issue.
The models that I've seen, they're made for commercial. What that really means, I don't know. But that's why I would like John to check it out, because he would be aware of this too. So I'm thinking that if we can get an electric mower that would work well after that initial spring mowing, the diesel engine mowers could go out and do the initial, but the long-term maintenance after that through the season might be able to do that by electric. But
were there any landscaping equipment that might be feasible? I'd like to look into the battery storage, because I think that's for this office,
yeah,
might be something to see.
yeah, it's definitely a possibility. There's also the,
Backup energy storage,
we
whatever.
probably, if John and his crew needed to get some new like battery-powered handheld equipment that they use, saws, blowers, things, and they wanted some, we don't have to spend all of the money.
Right.
We can just buy some things that would help clean energy, so.
Well, if it's efficient, if it works, and if it's,
Right.
if they need it and it needed to be replaced,
Right.
otherwise,
Well, I know they have some now, but I don't know how long they've had them, I don't know. So, well, I will send John an email tomorrow and copy here, and just say kind of what we're looking at and what does he think. And I'll have him check out the mowers just in case.
are there any, light-duty vehicles?
Electric light duty, I don't,
Meaning like a truck or a car, or, no?
no,
I don't know if they have that much money.
no.
I mean, down the road.
Down the road, absolutely down the road. Every year when we get ready to replace part of our fleet, we ask, is there an electric version right now that we could buy that our crew could
That would
use?
be, right, is there one coming up for, that is due to be replaced, that could be surplus and the grant
Replaced.
take the edge off it or not?
Not soon enough.
Yeah, okay.
The Ford makes an F-150 pickup that is electric or a hybrid. But our village trucks are F-250s because they have to haul a lot of material or equipment around. And Ford does not have, no one has an F-250 style truck, I believe it's a hybrid.
So that's heavy duty, they don't have any light duty, okay.
There are, yeah, they don't have any really light duty here.
This is for my code, need anything,
This,
vehicle?
Maybe some electric roller skates.
Electrical what?
Electric roller skates.
There you go.
They give you one of those little
And-
scooter things.
Skateboard.
Yep.
So any energy efficient, anything needed in the office, community room, would reduce energy usage.
We just replaced the air conditioning unit this past year.
That got done,
I
okay.
was thinking of air source heat pumps for the community room, but we just replaced that air conditioning unit. Now, when it's ready to go, we can probably.
But nothing.
Nothing within this time frame.
Okay,
So,
all right.
okay, I will see if I can summarize our discussions tonight, send an email out to John, check. I appreciate the feedback, and in the meantime, keep your ears and eyes open to potential things that we might use at the village, and I'll have John do that too. His department is the one that is most likely to benefit equipment-wise, but if there's something we can do for the village buildings too, then we can pursue it.
Okay.
So, thank you for the discussion.
Are we completely done with the LED conversion?
With the what?
LED conversion? Streetlights?
Oh, yeah, I think we are. Yeah, that was one of the things, the first things I checked. How about LED lights? He said, no, we got them all done, so,
Okay.
Yeah, everything has to be new.
yeah.
Yeah, but if you have some streetlights to be converted, they will be new.
Yeah.
We could do that, yeah.
Yeah, that
But
would be,
I think we've taken care of all those. That way, the maintenance on those is nothing now. There used to be a lot of maintenance.
Exactly.
It's no longer.
Okay.
So thank you all. The next topic are reports from Kathleen and myself on our NICOM visit. Kathleen, do you want to go? You had a handout?
I did, I gave you a hand. I came back with so much stuff.
That's the way it is.
So I sent out 5 documents. 3 dealt with the pro-housing communities program, and 1 was the multi-year capital planning. It had some useful schedules in the appendix. And the policies and procedures. So I just put some things down from the municipal policies and procedure training session. They just gave a quick overview of the mandatory policies that every municipality has, and then recommended ones. And our village, listening to some, we're in pretty good shape. The code of ethics, I just put the municipal code, the references, investment policy, which we do annually. And it's also in our code. The local procurement policy, we do annually, and that's also part of our code. Workplace violence prevention, the policy statement has to be posted, and that's labor law. Sexual harassment prevention for all full-time, part-time, and seasonal employees. That's labor law, and the Department of Labor has model laws and policies and posters. Cybersecurity breach notifications, that's the state technology law, and it's part of our code. State emergencies involving public health, you need a plan for continuation of operations in the event of a declared state disaster emergency involving communicable diseases, that's labor law. And I have their sample law and all their requirements. So those are mandatory. And they stress the idea of not all at once, but throughout the year, going through those policies to just make sure it's up to current code. And then they had examples of recommended policies: cash receipts, credit card use, computer, internet, social media use, private sensitive information, capital fixed assets, fund balance, vehicle fuel use, travel and conference attendance. And most of these are in various places. So the recommendation was to have a comprehensive policy and procedure manual that everybody has access to, that's reviewed, and has staff involvement in going through that too, so that it's communicated on a regular basis, consistently. The Pro-Housing Communities Program, I think I gave you three. One is the frequently asked questions, a summary of it, and, sample resolution. So basically, what I got from it is the program addresses, the state is trying to address the housing shortage problem, but they're also incentivizing data collection, tracking, and promoting smart growth. So it's an incentive to get everybody involved in providing data, permitting data, and demonstrating that more housing units are being made available for all income levels and a variety of housing to meet different needs. So they're in the data collection process, and they're incentivizing it because it's a requirement to even apply for discretionary funding. So to start the process, there has to be a letter of intent from, it would be the mayor. And then they will then allow you to go in and enter your data on the template. So the data that they would require for all of them would be, if you don't have upstate 0.33% growth in the last year, or 1% over 3 years, then that's still okay. You can pass a resolution saying that you adhere to the values of a pro-housing community. And you still have to submit data. So you would still have to submit your permitting data. Zoning map, they have a template for zoning code summary that documents that you actually have something in your code that addresses housing. And they have a model. They have the model resolution that you actually have to use. And then the housing planning and building permit information for 5 years. So that is just to let you know that that's out there, but it is a prerequisite for a lot of the discretionary funds before you can apply. And then multi-year capital planning, that's what we're all involved in.
Started that.
Yeah. Miscellaneous community information. October is National Domestic Violence Month, and Tompkins County Whole Health sent out an announcement of what's going on during the month. The Core Advisory Group is meeting October 15th at 10 a.m. Zoom, and Jeff Bowles at Finger Lakes Independence Center is a contact person. CDC forwarded a communication from the health department. CDC has a toolkit and resources for emergency preparedness for people with disabilities, for local governments. And then last month was National Preparedness Month, and at the Airport Day and Preparedness Expo, the National Guard and Homeland Security had a disaster and emergency response training as part of the expo. It was very well attended and very interesting. So if you go to preparenewyork.gov, they have information, and they have a schedule where you can go, all over the state where they have trainings, but there are also online trainings too. So that's it.
I have one question from you, this, and it's, I think I attended some of the same meetings. It happened, never mind. The thing I was thinking about, and during the meeting, I forgot to make a note of it, I just realized it when I did a summary of mine. What does a municipality do? Because we don't have any land use control as a village. We have our properties, but we're not really pushing to have any of those properties, at this point anyway, developed for residential use. Is there anything, do you remember anything from that talked about assisting or attracting developers who want to do housing to apply for some of this discretionary funding? Do you remember what they said about
Yeah,
that?
they had, this was just the survey, so they went through the list of over a dozen different funding programs that ranged everything from repairs, household repairs, to vacant buildings and redevelopment, infill, all of that. So downtown revitalization, a whole series.
There was a full spectrum. It was overwhelming how many different agencies were available.
Yeah, some through the State Department,
Some federal.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. The only, my takeaway from that was that should we as a village at some point keep all of this in the back of our minds so that if the developer comes in and they want to do something, and they're doing like a market rate, well, so, well, you know, if we help you apply for one of these discretionary funding vehicles through state or federal, would it be possible to include workforce housing for a different level, not at full retail market value within Tompkins County, which is as astronomical, I shouldn't say astronomically, there are probably 2 places in the world that are higher, but they're very high and people can't afford. So it might be a good discussion or something to think about when we have developers come in that are doing these large projects. Could you include workforce housing or affordable housing? If we help you find a source to get additional funding for your projects, so.
And that would be a good question to go back and pose to, I'm blanking on the person's name, but in that office.
Right.
And they do have monthly or weekly, they do have office hours where you can drop in with all of those questions.
Right.
I'll get that.
We would probably have to schedule a Zoom.
I don't remember it, but for any question like that, you can drop in, ask, and they'll also send you those resources.
Right.
And
yeah, that meeting was saturated with information. It was like slide after slide after slide after slide. So I recall that. So
yeah, but the office hours would be, you know, with the specific questions, yeah.
right. Well, we can always
So we can follow
send in an email and say, we have this question, who's the best person to contact? And okay, it's just something to think about in the future. Anything else, Kathy?
No, that'll do it. And they're counting permitted housing, right? So like, the Beers have an approved plan, but no permits have been issued on that yet. So like, the number of houses there won't count because they're not permitted.
Correct. We shouldn't count.
Right.
We kind of lose some
They can't do.
control at
can't
that point too, even if we approve the plans.
Yeah, they
It's
can't
on
do
the developer
forecasting.
to
It has to be
complete
something
them.
physical, it can't be
Yeah.
forecasted.
Right.
So, and once you start this process and are certified, you do have to continue to supply the permitting information annually,
Yeah, so that's
because they're looking at
growth.
trends and collecting data.
Do you have any experience with that system, Mike? Heard about it?
Well, Kathleen came in, we discussed you wanted a certain
See
information.
how onerous.
5
it-
years, and
yeah.
it's, what I actually do have the stuff.
It's just a matter of putting that
Just
into
pulling
their
it out,
system.
just put it in one, it shouldn't take all that long to do.
They estimate about an hour and a half, and part of the template is actually based on the tracking template that Cornell had, in part.
Thank you, Kathleen.
And
Yeah,
the more I sat in on these classes, the more I realized I knew very little. There was so much to know.
they are intense educational sessions, for sure. My part of it is, let me get it here. Like I said, we attended some of the same sessions. I attended 10 sessions, 10 different ones. My first one was related to lead service line replacement, because we were going through the evaluation of what properties in our village needed to potentially have lead service line replacement. While I was there, I talked with John about another issue on the phone. He said that we have all of our properties are identified, that in other words, the first step, identifying any that might need to be replaced, that's all been done, and that was due October 15th, so I believe we're good. The next step for everyone is to replace any lines that exist from our standpoint between the village property to the beginning of the private property water line. We will start having to do those replacements, and that's got to be completed within 10 years. It also impacts the private residents or business. If they have lead service line there on their property that we've identified, they have to replace their part of it. We cannot do that. That would be gifting. So they were very specific about that. So it's going to be a very expensive project for the next 10 years. And they are hoping that someone, federal and or state government, decide to kick in money to help all of these residents pay for this. I think our villages are pretty good shape. We probably don't have that many, but there are some in the US that it's going to be billions of dollars. So I think we're okay, but we'll find out from John next Thursday. He'll report on it. That's pretty much like what I got from that session. On my next one was they had a session on protecting the municipality with cyber insurance. It was more about what happens. It was a cyber insurance company, but they were not pushing their product. They were just showing you kind of the things they look for. They were saying you could move to we could move to a .gov domain, which is free. However, if you apply for that, it takes forever to get in. And when you do that, you have to have cybersecurity training and insurance. And cybersecurity insurance is like life insurance. It's very expensive, and it will do nothing but go up. So I think we need to stay as .org temporarily and ascertain down the road whether we need cybersecurity insurance. What I've done for our village website is it's a WordPress site, which is open source, and I have a company that we purchase a license for annually that monitors our website 24/7. And if they see any change to the website, they evaluate that for a potential virus, and they notify me, or the website manager, who's me at this point, that change was made, and if it's not valid, to correct it. If there's a new application, the WordPress application that I use on our site that updates, it informs me, and it also says that these certain applications are out of date and they need to be updated. or they need to be turned off. So it's almost like an insurance wall for us. We haven't had any issues caused by viruses. So what they recommend also is having an incident response plan, which kind of ties into our cybersecurity thing within our code. So if something happens, who do you contact? How do you let people know? Did it impact, which devices were impacted? Was it just computers? Was it computers and phones, since we have village phones? So we might consider doing an incident response plan, which would be pretty simple in our case. We don't have that many employees or departments. They said that best practice for passwords on devices now is to have a random password and a minimum of 16 characters. That's gone up from 12 in the last 2 years. So the problem is these new AI systems, and I don't mean just the software, I mean the computers behind the software are running faster and hotter and can process random passwords, seeking a random password connection to break in. This number 16 will go up to 20, probably 24, 32, because the technology is coming along where they can process those things so much faster. So minimum of 16 characters now for all of you who have passwords when you're making a password. They recommend using a good password manager. Personally, I have what's it called, 1Password software that I have a master password that's 40 characters long. That it has all of my passwords in it. So we might consider buying a license for our village staff. You can buy a license and share it, we might consider doing that. And if someone loses it, if you've got a master manager of that account, they can get in and they can see everyone else's password, but it obviously has to be someone you trust. So, yeah, that was that session. My next session was Albany updates. There was all of the legislative updates. The only one that I saw we might look into is the local law to register and collect taxes on short-term rentals. That would apply to the town and the village. I don't know if the town is doing that now, but they said that it's like a hotel tax. And, currently, the county is not collecting taxes. Airbnb is doing that voluntarily now, but how well they're doing it, how fairly they're distributing the taxes to the municipalities is questionable. Not questionable, but unverified. That's a better word. My grant funding opportunities. This is a session I believe that Kathy was in also. There was a vacant rental improvement program, and Trip Hotel kept coming to mind. There's also housing development funding sources for accessory dwelling units out there if we have a big influx of a big push for local ADUs. There's a community development block grant for vacant property demolition and clearance, again. So if we can, Deborah's trying to find out, we've had this discussion in one of our walks the last few days. What can we do about zombie properties like Trip Hotel? They're just sitting there, they're doing nothing but being an eyesore. Is there a way that we can say, okay, you've got X number of days or months to move this property, demolish this property, or we're going to pursue this and do it for you? So it may not be legal. We don't know yet. But there was a movement within Albany a couple of years ago to provide funding to communities that had zombie properties, business properties, and residential properties. But I don't think it's passed anywhere. My next session was building a modern municipal website. That was for me personally. Let's see, is there anything in here that's my possible actions for me right now? Revamp our website search feature to improve it a little bit. Do we want to create a Facebook page and link it to the Village of Lansing website? That's for if we want to get more people involved in the government and our operations in our meetings. And they were saying that a lot of people are starting to embed AI components in their website, which basically gives someone a way of running artificial intelligence search on your website that builds a more comprehensive answer to a question, for instance. I don't know about that. I just don't know enough about building an AI component. And once you've turned on that or opened up that bottle with the genie, how do you close it? So those are just my notes from there. Accounting for capital projects is the next session. If we use our municipal employees or equipment to do something within our community for a private resident, we have to charge them for that. It cannot be a favor, because a favor in the eyes of the state is gifting. So we should have, if we don't have it, and I couldn't find it, we should have a policy that puts our employees' hourly rate and equipment usage hourly rate within that policy and keep it updated so that if our guys are asked to do it and they can do it, they have to charge that rate. We can't gift it.
The village has to,
Village,
not the guys.
not the guys. They would be doing the work. We have to allow it, that they have to pay the village for our employees, just like
Does that
hiring.
happen often?
It was a lively discussion, so I think it does.
No, I mean here, though.
Oh, of course not. For instance.
Like trees taken down?
Yeah, things like that. For instance, I had one of the residents on Dark Drive who was upset that his mailbox was put back exactly where it was before the work started. Because the new driveway entrance over the new sidewalk is just a little bit wider, and now if he turns a sharp right following his driveway, he almost hits his mailbox. He wanted the village to move the mailbox. And I said, well, the engineers put the mailbox back where it was. That was my plan. It was an engineering drawing, and they put it exactly where. He said, well, the village should do it. And I said, if we do it, we have to charge you. So, well, what if I do it myself and charge the village for doing it myself? I said, okay, you can try that, but I can't guarantee we're going to pay it. So I think it probably in small villages, I think it's possible that it could happen. We just have to be careful to not do that. So that's why I wrote this down. This is for you, Mike. If we have a bid specification out and one of the potential respondents to the bid want a copy of engineering plans to help them with the bid, we need to get a deposit from them, monetary deposit, so that they return that plan and don't keep it and use it as a resource for future work. I never thought about that. I didn't think that people generally ask for those plans, but if they do require, get an engineered plan from us or one of our developers, then we need a deposit from them to be sure you get it back.
So I can't give out copies of plans.
No.
And how are they supposed to bid on,
Well, they have to give it back.
They have to give it back. They can't.
But they could make their own copy.
Yeah,
but they could copy it?
it's just a deposit. It's just like a monetary deposit you put on that plan to make sure you get that plan back, because you might need that plan to give to someone else too.
Well, no,
So
But when they have it, they could make their own copy.
but, oh, right,
that's true, they could, but at that point, it would not be an official it wouldn't be an official copy.
Sure.
And I think that there are copying protections within those plans, so that if it has been copied, that people will know. Certain colors that don't copy and things like that.
Oh, all right, okay.
So another thing that we can do is on our construction contracts, we can withhold a certain percentage on each payment that they make, or that they owe. In other words, if they owe us, if they've done work and they submit an invoice, then we could say, we're going to pay you this, except for, say, 10%. And that 10% we are going to withhold until the end. Once the work is completed, inspected, and is free of defects, we will return that 10%. And in a large project, that can be a lot of money. So if they want to get some of that money back to help them with an upcoming project, another project, then we can release monies, but only if they provide securities. Bonds or notes of the USA, bonds or notes of New York State, bonds of New York State political subdivisions. So, but there were things that I had never thought of.
It's not really, it's not all that uncommon under large projects.
Right.
That I've seen before, so yeah, that makes
Until,
sense.
yeah, I mean, that's within the contract that the
Yeah.
contractor
Yeah,
has
or we
all the parts.
withhold it, we withhold a certain percentage of
But
the year.
it's known.
But you can do it per payment if you want to. You can set it up so.
Oh, well, yes, I mean, it's not all of a sudden,
You don't just say that
keeping-
we're keeping this much until the end.
okay.
So it was just things I didn't think about. The next section was city and village audit findings. They said that one of the best things you can do for your village, it's not necessarily part of an audit, but you provide for continuity between trustees and the mayors when new people come in, that they know what's going on. How can you do that? They say always check the audit reports from your CPA and follow their advice, which I think we do that. So one of the ideas I got out of it is to create an annual training for us trustees on how to review the monthly vouchers and invoices.
Oh, what a good idea.
And because I know when new people come in, they go, what are you doing
Or
here?
the training may or may not be up to date or adequate
Yes,
to meet the auditors.
right.
Yeah,
And then you address those questions and issues. Once you're doing those, how do you address your questions and issues? We always check the policy documents for accuracy intermittently. We need to develop a fund balance policy. We don't have one, according to Jody, which we need some help on how to do that properly, I think, with the wording and so forth. A water fund, sewer fund, general fund, how do we deal with those? How much, what do you do with the money that you're rolling over from year to year as you're collecting it for future projects? Do you set a percentage or an amount that you're going to get to, and what do you do when you start to exceed that? So that would be the fund balance policy. Also create training for us for our annual budget process. Because it's the first time we've all experienced it. It's kind of a head spinner. And to do physical audits. And what I was thinking is the new spare parts building that the DPW guys built off the side of their salt barn.
yes.
We need to audit that, make sure that everything is inside, it stays inside, and nothing turns out missing. So, let's see, getting close. Fiscal cliff, the session was avoiding fiscal cliff, how to budget and finance, and your analysis. So the fiscal cliff is when your current level of service is not supported partially or in full going forward. So you need to identify a fiscal cliff before it happens, not get there and fall off. So you would have to potentially reallocate resources or find new funding sources to maintain the same level of service. It sounds like common sense, but apparently a lot of people race their car to the edge of the cliff and forget the brakes, and they just go right over it. So I think we do okay. one-shot revenues like these $20,000 grants we're being awarded, use them for one-shot expenditures. Don't try to use them for ongoing expenses or operations. Don't ever do that. Because you'll rely on that for 1 year, then the next year you don't get it, and you don't have it. Some of this is redundant. The next session was on employee handbooks. There's the sexual harassment training. I know that sometimes I've taken it for the town of Lansing or one of the committees I'm on, the county committees. And I just say, Jody, I've taken this, so-and-so. Well, they say, really, for a municipality, you shouldn't allow that. You should have the person take the training under the purview of the municipality, not just say, I've taken it elsewhere. So. This is the one I never thought about. Be aware that a Zoom video conference background, what you have behind you, might be considered sexual harassment.
That's in the sexual harassment training.
But it slipped right over me.
I just said, ooh, better blur the
Just
background. Is it only dishes in a cupboard?
Mine's so, I have mine blurred out anyway, so all you would see is my cat. Always keep your handbook up to date. And they said that if you're looking things that you might need to update, check their annual summary of state legislation, because they will tell you that it will need to, your handbooks need to be updated. And they said a new one that we might not be aware of, the attendees, was check to see if we have a cancer leave policy. This is for people who have to go in for cancer screening or checks. The New York State requires a minimum of 4 hours per year. But there are certain rural areas that a person, if they have to drive half an hour to a medical appointment and half an hour back and a half an hour there, or potentially an hour, that they only get a couple of visits per year. So we can increase that if we feel that the distance to an appointment might be longer than normal. So last session was multi-year financial planning. I think some of this is redundant, I won't repeat it. Fiscal improvement plan, course of action for growing our fund balances. This will be part of our fund balance policy, I believe, and future appropriations. Our long-term capital plan is going to kind of help us do that, to kind of smooth out the transition to how much tax rates we will need, or if we need to increase user fees, which I'm not sure we do enough. But, so, keep an eye on the user fee. I know that you have updated those recently, but be sure that with all the increase in expenses in the last year or so, 2 years, that we need to increase our fees again. We need to prioritize multi-year capital appropriations, which our capital plan will do down the road, and always determine what our village needs, not what we want. So, and if you ever need to identify your capital assets, this was good. This was a good tip. Refer to our municipal insurance policies, because they list them. So it gives us a list of things that we need to monitor. So that was 3 days of intensive sessions. If you've never gone and you get a chance to go.
Yeah.
The people there are wonderful assets. It's great people that attend, great people that present. The vendors are great too. It's just a good time. It's one of the best conferences I've ever attended. You actually get information that you can use, and you can make a lot of good connections. So anyway, that was my report. Oh, and I'm going to send you, just as torture, I'm going to send you the real notes that I took that's got a link to all of the presentations if you're interested. So
Thank you.
you'll have a,
So I won't have to do it
you'll have a
myself.
perspective into my mental state during those.
All of the presentations now on the NICOM website.
Right.
In addition to the drop-in, office hours, which is a wonderful resource if you have questions and stuff.
There are a couple of presentations I haven't found yet, like the one from the cybersecurity insurance company.
And that notification is mandatory policy.
Yeah,
We do have that in our code.
Actually, there's a webinar. I've had to miss the first one. The second one is next week, I think. But
cybersecurity.
so I think that, I mean, just because I don't know anything about it.
It's interesting from an elected or / municipal officer perspective. It's good. For most people, it's just a blur. It's just like, it's all technology, terminology. You have to be kind of careful.
Well, it's there, anyway.
Yeah, it's there. Okay, mayor's comments, I've made enough comments for tonight. Okay, in general discussion, we're going to have
Nothing?
New Services Board, we didn't have a quorum, so the meeting was like 15 minutes. So right now, everything is budget.
Yeah.
The proposed, where is it? The RFPs and all of that.
They had to create their
Presentation to
over
the,
target requests.
Exactly.
Yeah, over target requests to the county. Yeah.
yes. And so they, where is it? 3 pages worth of.
Some of that was happening, they voted on some of those tonight, and they did pass.
It did?
Yeah.
Good, because I will just look at it tomorrow. It was, all the departments, CWEO, and they were working on their budget as well. They do their due diligence and work hard to present to the legislature and defend their asks. So those meetings were quick and easy.
Anything else? Kathleen, you've given a pretty thorough report. Any more? Anything else?
No, the only one we probably need to look at is that state emergency involving public health.
That might be part of the county emergency plan.
Right, the hazard mitigation, that has, every 3 years, that gets updated.
Yeah. Do we
We
need,
may want to take a look at it.
we need one as at a municipal,
Yep.
from a municipal perspective. The hazard mitigation plan has our appendix in it, but I don't remember if it's got anything in that kind of detail for our village. It's more of the targets that Mike and I worked on and kind of how we're tracking to those targets.
Seemed to be the main three, there were three main things, the flooding, Mike.
Main 3 was being able to have a community center that everyone knows, an emergency that they can go to. You and I spoke about doing that. What they had done with the hazard mitigation is they started out with a list of where our weaknesses would be. We had to answer a bunch of questions, and Ronnie and I answered them, and they basically categorized, okay, the village is weak in these 2 or 3 categories. And at that point, they kind of sectioned us off with other people or other municipalities that had the same weakness to see if we could work out something. And I can't remember what our 3, well, we're supposed to have a meeting here, I think next month.
Yeah.
I'll have to send you another, but one of them was being able to get out on the information, let's say out on the website of where our disaster meeting area, so to speak, without using better terms. In our case, it's the YMCA, but is it out there for people to see? Educating people on knowing it instead of waiting till the last minute where they might not have access to our website? I mean, we've spoken possibly to get it out to the school system. You and I discussed this, Kathleen, that we get out to the schools and the kids come home and they have these, they're thinking these great ideas, and it's a way to get it to the parents to let them know that, hey, look, this is where we go. And so now the parents remember that if a disaster happens. It's just items like that. I mean, I can send you the 3 categories that they say were the weakest in. I can always send that out if anybody's interested.
That might be a good short discussion at next Thursday.
Yeah.
Not to pressure you, but to get a good discussion on what do we want to,
We haven't done in a while, so we haven't had a meeting in a while.
No, we haven't. I was thinking. The 3 that I remember are definitely flooding, emergency meeting area, and emergency routes, evacuation routes. But there aren't that many in the village. It's pretty common. I mean, Warren, Chip Hammer, Oak Crest, Dart. That's about it.
I didn't send this, but it's Department of Labor Emergency Preparedness Law. And I can, it's dol.ny.gov, ELP, and they actually give a template for a model, a policy that you could use and adapt to meet the village's specific needs, but it's got all of the kind of required elements in it.
Right.
So would that be helpful?
Yeah,
Okay.
it might be overkill for us, but it doesn't hurt to know what they
It's
are.
8 pages.
Yeah, it's probably overkill. But it's good to know.
And the other one is 5 pages, but, oh no, 4. A lot of it is just, yeah. So they do have the template. It's rather than starting from scratch.
Yeah, they always come.
Lays out the.
Good deal. Anything else, Kathy? Okay, then I will move that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Yes, I mean,
15 seconds.
yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Who seconded? Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Yes.
That's
8:59.
10 o'clock.
Since
Oh,
3 of us.
you're right, 8:59. Okay, I thought you said 15 minutes. I'm moving to your planet.